Non-Indians of Reddit, what impression do you have of India? I worked with 2 Indian guys back in the day. We named them and they happily took it upon themselves as Bash and Crash. To this day they were the nicest and funniest men I'd ever worked with. Terrific work ethic and friendly blokes. Mind blowing. Went to India a few years ago. For someone who is used to rural life in a relatively small country, India is vast. So many people, so busy, so much going on. It makes your head spin. And I primarily spent time in Pune. Highly populated, very hair proud, Bollywood, caste system, excellent mathematicians, some beautiful architecture like the Taj Mahal, and in a short space of time, have become real experts at technology. Culturally, wonderful food, expressive and vibrant culture, nice people, fascinating theological perspectives, art, architecture and fashion are also amazing. I know parts get rough. Plenty are impoverished. The caste system is somewhat still around. Foreigners shouldn't trust street food. The population is high. A space program is in effect. They possess nuclear capabilities. Major businesses and business people are from there. Home of Hinduism, which is probably the largest religion, in terms of active worshippers alive today, whose deities are included as video game bosses or, in the case of for example Smite, avatars. Also the source of the word avatar, and of the so-called Arabic numerals. Sanskrit is a beautiful language. Associated with it tech support and has more English speakers than England does. Also has nukes. And so does Pakistan, which could be very bad if the Kashmir thing blows up any further. I know India has tons of beef with Pakistan, and if there's ever a nuclear war, it'd be between those two. A culture with absolutely beautiful elements, but like many nations who are taking the huge leap from third world to first world, implying that there is an intermediate position we could call second world. It's full of examples of the country going through growing pains. Essentially, too many people expected to live in a modern environment who don't know how because they are conditioned far more rudimentary circumstances. Combine that with major cultural issues, you've got a volatile situation. Amazing food and culture. Questionable business practices. My experience with Indian-owned businesses has been neutral at best. Terrible in some instances. Currently in a battle to get a refund for a terrible hotel stay where the room was dirty. No Wi-Fi even though it was advertised, and faulty wiring that electrocuted my boyfriend. Owned by Indians who told my credit card company I trashed the room and stole the appliances. Not true. My boyfriend also worked for Indians who jacked up the prices while cutting back on the product. Sold people expired food. Did not discipline employees that needed to be disciplined, and just overall ran the business into the ground until it needed to be closed. It was a franchise. Also, I love how Indians write. I have a particular way of reading English when an Indian writes a sentence in English. There's something so satisfying about it. Sadly, I haven't seen an Indian with that particular grammar on Reddit. Only on YouTube and Quora. Apart of that, most of Indians seem like pretty nice people. About the country, mostly suburban areas, huge religious influence, rice as a favorite food for many, and mostly thin people. Also love Quora. Tons of people, tons of languages, huge wealth gap, persecution of religious and ethnic minorities. Boo Modi, would suck to be a woman there. Bollywood movies are epic and sometimes accidentally hilarious. And when ordering any of India's amazing food, remember to ask for it to be mild spicy. I think it's big, and there is a lot of people in India. I have only seen it on TV, but it seems to be a really filthy and poor for too many millions over there. Spent 2 weeks in India a month ago. Lots of stereotypes I heard beforehand made me have doubts about it, and they pretty much all turned out to be very true. But I absolutely loved it. Beautiful country with amazing food and very very nice people. I get the impression they have some beautiful wilderness. I wanted to visit India so badly as a kid. Still do, if I'm being honest. I've never worked with anyone from India, but my dad has and really enjoys talking to those co-workers. Seems like a friendly country to me. I think a lot of friction just comes from really different cultures between America and India. Also the elephants there have cute, small ears. I know that for a fact. I've always met friendly people. Food is delicious. Seems to have a lot of divide between rich, poor, and a lot of variation in people in general. I've seen genuinely nice Indian guys who are great to women, and incel Indian dudes. All in all, Varied people with varied upbringings. Positive stereotype. I think Indians are very funny. Some of the best comedians are Indian. My favorite being Aziz Ansari. And all the Indian guys at my school are funny. So yeah, forgive me for stereotyping. Without having been there, it seems very crowded, but most city areas seem that way to me, and that is typically what is reported on. It also seems very warm. Having had eaten the food, it's a land of culinary masterpieces in my mind. I also like the traditional clothing a great deal. In reality, it's probably very similar to everywhere else I've visited. Just people being people. People in the cities, very outgoing, have no issues talking with you, generally very friendly. Some people will try and hassle you, but a quick mention of something being too expensive, this not being your first time here, etc. will get you a price drop. People in the country, a bit less outgoing, a bit more shy, but nice nonetheless. India seems like quite a nice country to visit. I'd love to go someday. Very rappy and patriarchal. And X200B. Edit. I'm not making it up. If you're going to acknowledge the good food and amazing sights, you need to also acknowledge the violence against women and children. https://www.youtube.com/watch?vecquil cknisjrfruy right square bracket open bracket http://www. YouTube. Overpopulated. Dirty. Smelly. Lots of social and economic inequality and lots of cases of rape in the news, but on the plus side, Indian ladies can be quite pretty and I like the traditional dress. From my experience, the honor-shame culture really tends to hamstring efforts to work with them from a Western perspective. It seems to color their decision-making process in less than desirable ways, in my experience anyways. Admittedly, I'm working with a proportionally laughable sample size, so I could just be working with uncommonly difficult people. Great accent, great people, elephants, and terrifying traffic, not to mention cows. I don't really know too much, other than what seems to be a big divide between rich and poor. One of my mom's co-workers was from India, where his family was quite rich. I mean, rich enough to afford air conditioning, and they'd have beggars coming in, well, begging to be in the AC on a hot day. When I say hot, I don't mean Canada hot, I mean hot as in people frequently died of heat stroke hot. Come to think of it, I don't know if it's India or another country. Went there once. Very polluted in the cities, very odd in the countryside. It can be hilarious, like riding in a little tuk-tuk or driving down the road and hearing the nonsensical horn of an overloaded truck. But then it's really messed up, like all of the people without housing or food. Very crowded as well. I wasn't a big fan of being there, but it wasn't too bad. Probably awesome food all over the place, but a chance for food poisoning. Lots of people and cultures packed into one nation. Got screwed by Britain and trying to recover still. Lots and lots of call centers. Admittedly, I know very little. The people seem nice. I'll tell you what it's like. It's crowded. It smells awful. Sanitation is practically non-existent. It's polluted as hell. And all of the weird medical conditions take place there. Basically, it's a shithole. My impression of India is that it's an overcrowded, filthy place with open defecation, extreme poverty, filthy air, and traffic rules and laws that would scare a daredevil. I would never willingly visit India. I'm sure there are a lot of really nice good people there. It's no reflection on the people of India. It's a reflection on poverty. Perhaps the worst government in the world hurting perhaps the nicest people in the world. Hundreds of thousands of regional and ethnic strongmen all out for their own region and group. Few people seem to think of their nation as a whole. Endless stirred up trouble between groups that seems to help only the ruling class. As was pointed out to me many years ago, the Indian government is not a coalition. The whole country is a coalition. I fuck with India. The women are so gorgeous. India does seem like an overcrowded place, and from what I heard their police might be corrupt. I'd still visit though. Just gotta follow their rules to have a little fun. Only what I see brought here. Good family values. Except the respect toward women. See men driving with their wife in the back and nobody else in the car. She's not good enough to sit up front. I understand you have your culture with the caste system and women not being on par, but in Canada we don't do that. After reading Bottle of Lies, I have a very poor impression of Indian culture. Their culture rewards those who can cut the most corners and get away with it. Admittedly not that much different than American business but a bit worse. Too hot, too loud, too smelly, too far, too much traffic, just too much in general. India just seems like a lot to me. Fresh mangoes and sugar canes are to die for though. The aforementioned too far and too hot mean I'll never go back, so I can't ever experience them again. Quick edit. I'm Canadian. My parents are from India.